Attention! And welcome to the Husker Army Podcast. With your hosts, Husker fanatic Brian Knutson, former Husker wide receiver Kenny Cheatham, and Husker recruiting guru Matt Sass.
What's going on, everybody? Fall in at attention. You are locked into another episode of the Husker Army Podcast, brought to you by the Husker Army fan page on Facebook. Go check them out. Great group of people. Kenny, I believe you're in there. Look, guys, here we are. I am your host, Brian Knutson. With me, as always, Mr. Kenny Cheatham, a.k.a. KC, former Husker wide receiver. Our guest today, everybody, we're talking defense, so who better than to have two former Blackshirts from Nebraska coming in to discuss some defense. We got with us today former Blackshirt Kareem Sears. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right.
Awesome. Another former Blackshirt, Mr. Jay Foreman. How are you today, sir?
Man, I'm hanging loose. I'm doing all right.
Good deal, good deal. Well, guys, here we are. It is right now Sunday. We are, I believe, 5 days away from kickoff against Minnesota. The rule era is about to start, about to see what's going on, about to see where everything lands. But we've talked offense. We've talked wide receivers. We've talked rule. Today, it's about the defense. Hopefully, more black shirts this year. And I think it's best we focus on linebackers because, honestly, my opinion, in a 3-3-5 defense, your linebackers are your pillar. That is your strength because your D-line, 3-down linemen, they can get overpowered. You've got extra linemen to go into that next level, get those linebackers. We need linebackers that are tough, ready to attack, fast, and relentless. And I think we might have that this year. So first gentleman I wanted to talk about, of course, everybody's been talking about him. Transfer from Georgia, MJ Sherman. This guy, look, he's got high praise coming in. He's played in a national championship. He's played at the highest level in the SEC. Now, Kareem, I know you've seen some film on MJ. He's a fast kid, physical. He looks like just a freak of a specimen in only spring ball alone at the spring game. And it looks like he could be a valuable asset to this linebacking core. What are you looking at for the transfer from Georgia?
I'm just, I'm looking to see. I want him to bring what he was doing at Georgia. Like the times he was getting in the game at Georgia, the kid was performing pretty good. Expecting the same thing at a higher level. Probably, he has some experience. And, looking for him to be a dog out there.
And that's exactly what he was a dog. I mean, Georgia Bulldogs, you got to be a dog, I guess. And this guy did it at a high level. So, I mean, you're looking at Georgia being back-to-back national champs. First time it's been done in a while. So this guy decides to transfer to Nebraska knowing he's probably going to start this next season coming up. What do you think that says about him, Jay? Do you think he was looking for a place to go where he was ready to just shine?
Yeah, I know Jonas Jennings, who's their, right-hand man for Kirby Smart, and he had nothing but good things to say about him, man. He said he's a good kid, kind of got caught up in a numbers game. When I watched him, when he played, he looked like he knew what he was doing. The things that you heard about him, big, fast, strong, you actually can see him making plays versus sometimes you get guys out of the portal, you see one play. You've seen him, play in some games and some games of significance and then some games, you get in after games are decided. But he always made some plays. So I'm sure, when you sit behind, 3-4 first-round picks, you got probably 3 or 4 coming up the pipe. You're right in that gray area, you haven't broken through. You got other guys coming up, so it's a little bit hard. So I don't think it was a thing that he couldn't play. I think he was looking for an opportunity to really get out there and make up for lost time, and Nebraska's the place. Or I'm sure he had other options, and so I think he's kind of stepped in and into a leadership role and been through some stuff, and obviously he brings some winter tradition. He knows what it looks like to work though, and so that's probably refreshing to a new coach and coaching staff. And so now, with the game, 3-4 days away, essentially the game is right around the corner, because really Monday and once you get to Tuesday, the hay's in the barn.
Right.
If you ain't ready from a week out, playing a game, you ain't never gonna be ready. So, um, you know, I think he'll do okay. I think he's gonna have to get out there and he's gonna have to show his stuff, and if he's anything like he's supposed to be, it's gonna be a good addition. I think the addition of him, allowed some younger guys that hadn't played, like Jamari Butler and like Chief Borders, to kind of come along maybe a little bit slower, and now you see them starting to kind of flourish a little bit. And then that brings some depth, because one thing about MJ Sherman that I saw that was probably more appealing than anything is that he's shown the ability to play off the ball, right? So
Yep.
if our linebackers are two main guys that always been dinged up, so you can move him back there and he could, you ain't gonna lose a beat. So he gives you some flexibility, and for him, the more you can do, the better off you're going to be in the long term. So for the most part, I think it's good, and linebackers in this defense have got to play. You got to make plays, man. I mean, 3-3-5, 3-4, 4-3, 4-2-5,
5-2.
I don't know what other defenses they got. You got to make plays. There's only one ball. You never leverage the block. You leverage the ball, and so the more guys that they can get to the ball is going to be better for this defense.
Absolutely. Now, Kenny, yeah, you always like to hear, what the stats are on these young men when they come in on transfer. Now, as far as stats go, I looked it up. It wasn't anything to write home about. It was very low as far as solo tackles, sacks, things like that. I believe last year you only had like half a sack, maybe just barely in double digits as far as solo tackles, things like that. But I mean, if you look at the build on this young man, they've got him listed as 6'3", 250. And this is going to be a middle linebacker. And from what I can tell, he can fly. Now, the other two young men we'll talk about, they're a little bit smaller than that. So what does that say about MJ Sherman being that big but being able to ball out at a speed as he does?
You have to look at it this way, in my opinion. You're looking at a guy that's transferred in from a program where there's 10 dogs in the kennel and they're all trying to eat. Like Jay said, it's a numbers game at times. It doesn't mean that the player isn't a good player. Sometimes, it goes back to the saying when you have a kid being recruiting, go to where you need it and not where you want it and not where you need it. Vice versa. Some kids go and you're going to a team with a stable of great players, which is no thing, competition, but sometimes it's a numbers game and certain things a coach may like or dislike. Right. He's the only one coming into the program that I know of that's been in a winning situation previously, that knows what it takes to win. So I think bringing that in from a leadership standpoint, I think some things won't be tolerated. I think he can express to guys what it's like to win. Hey, this is what we need to do to win. And if they can adapt that attitude, they'll be fine. But that's a monstrous size for a backer. It's not a what's big boy used to play for Pittsburgh, Kirkland. What was he?
He was like 300.
Yeah, I mean that's a good size.
Yeah,
I mean,
him and Earl Holmes, boy, they were like three technique.
Yeah. So if you're athletic, I mean, and he can bring it, hey, more power to him. Let's get it done.
Yeah, I got to agree. It's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, a 3-3-5 has always worried me just because of how stellar the linebacker play has to be. And so we haven't quite had that type of linebacker play in maybe a few years. And so it worries me. I've always been more psyched of a defense with at least 4 down linemen. I don't know. I've always been a numbers guy as far as linemen go. So it worries me.
Like me, myself, I've been in that same boat as a coordinator here. I ran a 4-2-5 for the last 4 years. Ooh. But that's also because I had some dogs up front that, I didn't have to blitz. And then, one kid went to K-State. Another kid went to Emporia State. You know, all 4 of my guys who played for me the last 4 years are in college right now. And so I end up switching to an odd stack for this year, which is 3 down, 3 backers, and 5 in the back end. But you know, I feel that the defense I switch to is going to be beneficial because I don't have that 4th guy, particularly a 3 technique. I don't have that guy, and so it's more moving around, a lot of blitzing, zone coverage, you know, here and there. So you know, I've adopted over the last couple of years I've put some odd stuff in there, and I'm really starting to like it a lot more. So you know, I mean, if you have the dudes up front and the backers, it can get done.
Yeah. You know, I think the 3-3-5 people worry about it too much because, you know, well, I mean, rightfully so, because obviously TCU felt Georgia in that with that 3-3-5.
Yep.
Into that, but I think Georgia was out to prove a point. TCU felt the brunt of Georgia probably should have lost to Ohio State. They were extremely motivated.
Yeah.
They had about 10 days to prepare, so they were, you know, they're ahead of the game. And then, you know, the 3-3-5 is generally, you know, a defense that you use in the Big 12. You know, where you want to get that extra kind of in between guy, like a, you know, Terrell Farley when we played, or somebody like that, Tavy or something. But I think also what people calculate is the way college football is now. You're generally in a 4-man front.
Yeah.
Because you have to play so much nickel, you know, because of 11 personnel, and teams will run more out of 11 personnel. So, you know, and then with them, with the 3-3-5, you know, they kind of run it like an old, or at least some 3-3-5s. I can't speak for Coach White. If you remember when San Francisco 49ers had, you know, Fred Dean and Charles Haley. So you had Charles Haley is kind of like your open side defensive end or a guy like that. Then you had Fred Dean, who was kind of like your in-betweener, then 2 big tackles, and then you had Keena Turner, and then, you know, they had the likes of even Matt Millen and all those guys, you know, Ricky Ellison and all those guys, smaller linebackers, besides Matt Millen, that could run. So they were always one of the most physical teams. And then they had Michael Carter, who was a plugger, you know, in the you know, middle of the defense. And so, you know, how you run it and how you do it. I mean, when you got 2, you know, say like if you look at Chief Borders and MJ Sherman and throw Jamari in there, you know, you can run a 3-4. You can have 2 outside guys that know how to set the edge, and then you got the 3 guys playing 3-4, and then you got your same inside linebackers that you got now. I think, you know, if you got a little bit smaller inside guys like Luke and Nick, they got to learn how to play big. You know, and playing big is like playing with the right leverage, good pad level, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, I got to agree. And to me, I mean, does this seem like something like you were just talking about, Jay? You can bring one of your linebackers up as a lineman, as a D end. So with Sherman's size being 250, is it crazy to think that that's something they could use him as a D end?
Well, yeah, D end, stand up, whatever he feels comfortable doing. I mean, you know, look, as long as you line up and you're able to do your technique, I don't care if you stand on your head. So, yeah, I mean, he can do it. I mean, they got some guys that, I mean, they really, to be honest with you, it's going to come down to they got to play well. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so, you know, there's one thing I felt a little bit in the past. We had too much I did my job, right? So that means if Kenny and Kareem, you know, or Kenny's trying to block me and he's a tight end, then, you know, yeah, I'm outside of him because I'm setting the edge. Well, the edge is, I'm soft on the edge, and that edge is way over there by the numbers. Well, you got to know whether, if the running back is all set to you or not, then you really got to set that hard edge, right? That means I gotta blow that dude up, get off, and reset the line of scrimmage. If the running back is offset away from you, and say Kenny, or not Kenny, but just say a tight end blocks me, fan blocks me, or tries to cut me or cut me off, right? I used to call it a hook block because it kind of looks like a fish hook. So essentially, I can either jam Kenny in there, or I can go outside of him and then essentially put my butt on his butt, because you have more time to set the edge. The edge is actually moved over, so that D gap essentially is actually a C gap. And so once you get more guys into I'm going to do my job and then I'm going to play football, it really doesn't matter. You got to get off blocks, right? Get off blocks violently and then run like hell to the ball. And really, by the time you get there, they're not going to really care what kind of alignment you're from, because if you're doing your job, it doesn't really matter. And so the blocking schemes, especially what plays into this team's defense or the defense's favor, is with the amount of, I guess, tempo that they run, right? Without huddling up and going off cards, the blocking schemes can't be complex because they can't check. So when we're in a front, they only can block it one or two ways. So if you really understand what the offense is trying to do, then you take a step back, then you can play faster, because they can't have 3 or 4 blocking scheme checks based on the front, because the time doesn't allow it, right? The communication isn't allowing it. So when you really understand your defense and really understand how the offense is going to attack you, then you can actually play a lot faster, play bigger. And then they were like, well, I mean, the perfect example is, if you've seen the Hall of Fame, is like Zach Thomas. The reason why he was so good, he knew the defense and he knew the offense inside out, so that he very rarely got blocked. Now, he had great players around him, sure.
Yep.
But the plays that he was making, he was making, and he made everybody else better. And so if they could get that kind of mindset, then they'll be just fine. I think and then they can expand their roster. Then you can have specialty players. You could bring like a John Bullock. I seen him or whatever, that is kind of like a 220, 225. That hey, you're going to be our run blitzer, and you can learn where to blitz and really punch holes in. That's how TCU did their defense, and really the 3-3-5 against a running team. If you go back to the old Rose Bowl, TCU against Wisconsin, that's how you should really watch it, because that's what they were doing, right? And so that's where TCU, Jerry Hughes, who played for Buffalo, and I think he was in Houston, he might have just retired. I think he played like 85 years in the league, because he played at Buffalo. Him and Aaron Schobel, right? So two defensive ends that went first round went to Buffalo. Both of them played in a 3-3-5 as a down lineman. So that means like a 5 technique, and then obviously as a stand-up guy. And they played pretty well in the league. So you can get it done if you get the right guys.
Yeah, I agree. It can be done. It absolutely can be done. Like I said, I'm old school. I grew up watching Nebraska run 5-2, then a 4-3 base. So I got kind of spoiled with the numbers game up front. It just worries me, and I think it's a natural worry. So we'll just see what they do. I mean, and to touch on what you were talking about, Jay, with Zach Thomas, I mean, you got to also throw in guys like Brian Urlacher, Ray Lewis, of course. I mean, just football defensive minds that it was so implanted in their brain that they didn't even have to think. It was just reaction.
Yeah, I mean, it comes from film study. It comes from playing together. It comes from confidence. I can't speak for Kareem and Kenny. I think the biggest thing, me and Kenny came in together. I mean, people don't understand is like, Kenny was a great athlete, right? So that means when Kenny was a superior basketball player, that means he had a competitive drive all year round. And Kareem as well. So, Ron Brown stopped at my house, got a commitment from me, and then he tried to go get Kenny. People don't understand that. So me and Kenny always been connected. But our confidence came from each other, right? And the work that we did. So when I looked over at Kenny, I knew what he was made of. When I looked at Kareem, I knew what he was made of. And we pushed each other buttons, right? We were competitive. We went at each other. You know what I'm saying? I mean, me and Kenny, we went at each other on the basketball court. But we did it. We did it for the bigger purpose. When we stepped on that field playing Oklahoma or Colorado or Minnesota, I knew Kenny was going to do anything possible to win. I mean, anything. There ain't nothing I wouldn't have done to win. You know what I'm saying? Within the rules or around the rules to win. And that's where that bond came from. Where we cared about each other outside of the I don't know, the dorms or whatever you want to call them. And so when, did that lead to us winning national championship? No, but if we didn't have it, I can guarantee we wouldn't have won it. And so
big factor. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that. Like, I tell every people one of the things they ask me, what was different at the time you guys were at Nebraska? I said, one of the main things was we rocked with one another on and off the field.
Right.
And besides that, I said, one of the biggest things I said, especially with the class and the class after us, it kind of changed. What 96, 97?
Yeah.
I said you had so many of us that technically could have played as freshmen, but maybe we weren't physically ready to play as freshmen. And we spent more time together over in that north side of that locker room.
Oh, dang.
Hey,
man, with no hot water. What? Remember they had the toilet with no
toilet by
right,
hey,
with no door.
No door at all.
Man, it was crazy, man. I was like, what the hell am I into? Steel lockers.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, say, correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but didn't you host Kenny's recruitment visit?
No,
we were together.
Oh, that was
together.
okay. See, I love this. It's like bringing a family back together, man. Seriously,
we had to bring little Reem up in here. We had to let him know what's up, man.
Man.
And what makes that even better? We were over in Jay and them dorm room playing Madden when Kareem was on his recruiting trip. I think it was him, Bolchamp, maybe Ortiz. It was a bunch of them.
Ortiz, Marcus,
Tony.
After my recruiting trip to Nebraska, I'm doing what they told me to do. They're like, hey, take your other trips, blah blah blah. Man, I tried, man, but as soon as I left, I was like, man, I'm coming here. I'm coming here. Yeah, I mean, because
we got action.
Yeah, I mean, like talking to them, not saying some of my teammates, I was the big recruit on my team, and so I was treated a little different by my teammates. We were still cool, but I was a little different. Then when I went to Nebraska on my recruiting trip, I was like, hold up, these some bitches just like me. You know what I'm saying? They have the same mindset. They live, breathe, shit football. That's where I wanted to be, and other schools, it was more about a competition between the schools to get me than actually me. And when I went to Nebraska, the coaches weren't involved in my recruiting. My coach was my recruit coach was Milt Tinniper, great guy, everything. But the reason I came to Nebraska was because of the guys I was around. I mean, it was a great time.
Nice.
And it was all about football. And that's exactly where I wanted to be at.
That's good because Nebraska is all about football. It's what we got.
You had to have the same mindset. Just going back to that real quick. You got to think, I'm watching Jay. This is how close guys are. People forget that I know, because we're all on scout team, I'm watching Jay over there fielding punts, doing the punt drills. when they're doing the kicking drills. Jay's over there with the scout team dummies on defense. I'm over here running scout team wide receiver. So that year after that, and we all got that mindset dude, everybody is with it.
Right.
So when we rolled into 95, and I don't think people understand how big a deal it was for us to see Jay when he started. Because we were like, we're like, all them dudes leaving. Oh, the homie's about to be in there handling business. Well, we all know. We like, man, we might have to wait or something, but we're going to play.
Yeah,
the homie's about to walk right in the spot. We were like envious, man. And he went in there and took it. And we was like, yeah, man, my boy in there starting. You know what I mean? So, and we know what he's about. Yeah. So, man, it was good stuff, bro. It was good stuff.
I don't think people knew, man. Walking back to the dorms, me, Kenny, Shebo, he was a prop, and Warfield and stuff. But me and Kenny and Ruck, there was times I was thinking about quitting. I was like, hey, man, I ain't come here to be getting my head beat in. You know what I'm saying? It was hot. You know, it was hot, after 2 days, you walking and cramping and all that other stuff. But then we stuck it out, man, because we all pull for each other. Because, the North locker room now is where the team is. But when we were there, man, it was you get one pair of socks, one girdle or whatever you had. And, it was a race to get the hot water to take a shower.
Heads up.
Yeah. And so
they're spoiled now. They're spoiled now.
Yeah, so we had to bond together, man, and so that's what I think we made us. And plus, we came in with pride, right? So we came in and wanted to, be a part of something. You know, as far as like I think later, like when me and Kenny was leaving, I felt like some guys came in and felt like they was already a part of it just because they wore the stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, they don't realize the type of work that we put in. And some of that is just product of winning. And that's what, you know, I think is plaguing Nebraska like right now, or like, you know, before, is getting treated as if you, I guess, a national champion or like a good team, but you ain't won nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So how do they really know the difference? That's that's a legitimate point. Like how would you know the difference? Like even as simple of, Kenny, you know this, and Kareem, you too. Just getting asked to go up there and talk on a Monday or Tuesday, whenever it was, let you know that you actually play good, because you ain't just getting up there because you say something. You know what I'm saying? Because you easy. So only the good players were getting interviewed. You know, when they had the thing like after lunch or whatever it was. Was it Chris Anderson I asked you?
Yeah.
You know, that lets you know that the coaches okayed you going up there. Now you just don't even know, right? So then it's like
I had like some of the kids on the mic. I have no idea who those cats are.
Yeah.
Curry said on the mic. He said, "You better get off the mic, right?" Hey, just like get up. Hey, get up. Hey, you be in them dorms. You get 21-point rule. You gonna get up out of there hot.
Get off the sticks.
Yeah, get off them sticks. Get off them sticks, boy.
Yeah, man. I think like Jay said toward the end, I noticed that same thing. We saw the same thing. It was an honor and a privilege to go from the old locker room to the new one, like, to the varsity locker room.
Straight privilege. I mean, like,
you didn't even walk through the varsity locker room.
No,
when you were a freshman,
you didn't know the code or anything.
No,
you didn't go in there.
You stay outside.
Outside.
Yeah, you go up in there when you ain't supposed to. You gonna come out with your feelings hurt. Hey, for real.
I'm sure they can tell you when we started our probably junior, senior, maybe our senior, when we started seeing guys who weren't playing and they already had them in the varsity locker room.
Junior, senior year.
It was a different vibe. We're like, wait a minute. We couldn't even walk through there to go to the meetings on the side stairs. They caught you, hey, you haul tail. But it was, I have to earn this. Now, when you sitting everyone in the same locker room and they getting all the perks and privileges, what do I have to work hard for?
Yep.
What do I have to work hard for?
Yeah.
You know?
Nothing. You're being handed everything already. All right. Now, to touch on what you said, the camaraderie, you know, being able to work together, getting that chemistry, I think we finally started to see this out of the next two gentlemen last season. We'll start with Luke Reimer, veteran. I mean, the kid's been here forever, and he does the same thing every year, which is just go out 100 miles an hour every play, every game, gives it everything he's got. Last year, the stats were down a little bit from 2021. But look, like I said, they're a little bit smaller here, these next two gentlemen. So Luke Reimer, he's listed at 6'1", 225. 2021, he had 51 solo tackles. Like I said, there was a drop-off in 2022, had 38. So, I mean, look at the record last year and everything that went on. You know, that's kind of understandable. We might be able to give him a pass. And he's also on some award watch lists for preseason. And he was last year too. So, and nothing happens. Luke Reimer is just what I want to see out of a linebacker. The guy goes 100 miles an hour, like I said. He doesn't complain. He doesn't get on anybody else's ass unless he knows that they're going to correct it. And I've seen it. Now, Kenny, you've watched him play. He, like I said, he's been here forever. Mr. Number 28, Luke Reimer. Are we going to expect more leadership out of him this year, more of the veteran play?
I would hope so, being that he had that one good year where he played really well. You know, last year he fell off a little bit. I mean, it was obvious. I don't know if he was injured or what was going on, if there was some personal stuff. But if he can get back to being what he was that one year where he played well, I think it'll make a huge difference for the defense. Like, my guys can speak to what they need to see these two out of defensive players a lot more than me. Because I'm, like I said, I'm old school. I'm Southern Kareem before the game. I was always defense and I switched over offense. I like to see physical. I'm used to monsters.
Yeah.
Our Nebraska days at linebacker.
Foreman, Sears, Farley. Take your picks. Ellis.
Man, I'm used to that, and I'm used to our DNs being monsters, and I'm used to it. So what I'm used to seeing is defensive line that's up the field, linebackers that's filling gaps, linebackers that's doing their role, know where they're supposed to be and making plays. So they can tell you more of what they're looking for. I'm just saying, if he can play well and make some good plays, I'm all for it. Now these guys can be able to go in depth more on what they're looking for in regards to from him.
I mean, I think with Luke, I mean, I've been a Luke fan ever since he's been playing.
Yeah.
I think the year he had a really good year.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not on the radar, that can happen.
Yep.
And then the next year, these OCs aren't going to let you just just have that great year again. You'll get schemed. You're getting schemed. And I tell my players that my players, like one of my guys last year, first 3 games, he's balling out of control up front. And then the first two district games of the season, he's getting double teamed. He's getting trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, I said, dude, you got schemed.
Right.
Like, so that I'm not saying he's not watching film, but that hey, get back in the lab, watch some more film, and see what teams are actually trying to do to you. So that's only going to help him get better. I mean, and I think he had some injuries last year.
Yeah,
it was a lot of shit going on last year.
It's like the backup quarterback. Once they have film on you, they know how to scheme for you. Like Kareem said, like Jed tell you. Oh, okay. He's aggressive going this way, and he likes to watch the play action. He likes to dip in, and we do a little play action. He follows that. Once they see those things, 20. This kid's in the game. Right. Yeah, there's sets of plays. There's sets of plays you go run to attack that person. Oh, this corner's aggressive.
They're going to use it. If they see you're a free-flowing guy and the contact's not getting to you that often, they're going to bring some contact to you.
For sure.
And use your weaknesses against you. And I'm not, that's possibly what happened a little bit last year.
Yeah. I think Luke is battled some injuries. I think he's a tough kid, though. The one thing I like about him, he's a tough kid, wants to do well, has a real good story. Interesting story if you get to know him. I like to, like Kenny's right. I like to see him a little bit more in your face type of leadership,
like he was 2 years ago.
I mean, just right now. Look, it's your last go round, so you ain't gonna be around it no more. And so with Luke, it'll never be personal, and because he's a hard worker, and I think with him, those are 2 things. Number one, first of all, I think I'm a big Luke fan, right? I think in this scheme, he could have a big year because he can go unblocked, right? But I think number one is leadership and pushing people to be better, get the most out of everybody, right? Because that's how he got here. And then number 2, just be a little bit better student of the game, understanding time. And Kenny would tell you, the way Kenny would run a slant route on, say, like 3rd and 16 is different on 3rd and 6 because he knows that dude's going to be sitting on it. So you might not necessarily just run a quick slant route, but as so you got to know situational football, schematic football, offensive football, all within 5 seconds.
A matter of seconds.
Right. But that's what's going to take you to that next level and be that better player. Like with him, I don't think it's much about stats. With him is efficiency because the stats will come when you become more efficient. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That means footwork, pad level, right steps, because really where we need our defense and I guess our offense as well, but particularly we're talking about defense to be better is in money time. And that's the closeout game. And how do you close out games? Footwork, fundamentals, knowing what you're doing, communication. Those are the things that you got to fall back on because when you we're playing Minnesota, right? So 2 years ago or 3 years ago against COVID, how they finished the game, getting the first down. One guy jumped out of his gap, and I watched the game. Right, one guy did. Right, did a good job. The last 2 plays, one guy jumped out of his gap twice. One guy, right. Then, you think of Minnesota game up there 2 years ago, right? They were able to bludgeon us towards. It wasn't that they were physically bowling us over. We just didn't stick our nose in there and do the right technique when it became important. That's what he needs to do. And that's what everybody else needs to do along with him. and then you'll just start to see the defense slowly but surely get better because the most important series is the first two series, then the last series or two before you go into halftime, and then third quarter on to finish. It's who wants it more, and you gotta execute. Defense is about execution, just like offense.
Yeah.
Like so as long as Luke and Nick, they kind of like the same. And you know what? I think Luke and Nick is a good combination, right? Because it's like, like that's why I like playing with Farley. Me and him are like two different personalities, two different players. I know Terrell in and out. I know what his strengths and weaknesses are, and I'm a cover up for him 1,000%. That's how Nick and Luke are. You know what I'm saying? They can look at each other and know, and that's what you want.
And last year, how many times did they actually get to play together last year?
Right, because they both. Well, Nick got hurt, got injured, and then Luke got hurt at the end of the season.
Yeah.
When them two play together, they be okay. They'll be all right. So they and then the other guys got to play. It really gonna come down to, man, is that you got some nuts. Kenny. We can see.
You got the marbles.
At the end of the day, Kenny, we can bullshit all day. If you guys want to sit here and bullshit all day, we can do it. You know what I mean? But at the end, right?
We ain't got no time limit.
Right. We can sit here and just yank each other's chains and shit. We came here.
Talk around the circle.
Yeah, you want ice cream or you want the filet mignon? The real deal is, you gotta have some balls. You know what I mean? You gotta have a little
cojones to do it.
Yeah, you gotta be like, can you swear on here?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta be a motherfucker, man. At the end of the day, you could be as nice. Yeah. Look, all three of us, right?
Yeah. Like
we're generally like, I know these dudes inside and out. We 18 years old. We became like young men or men. Some young men together, right? Yep. We're all kind of mild-mannered dudes, though, right? So, when we get on the field, we're not fucking around at all. There is, the people are like sometimes like with football. I think people don't understand is, and people ask me why I don't coach football like high school. I was like, look, man, y'all ain't got the mentality that I like.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so when you play football, it's not like basketball. Look, I am trying to fuck you up. Yep. Right? Right? I am trying to fuck you up.
I've used this with my boys. You know what I'm saying? And I love my mama. I've told them that. I love my mama. I said, but if my mama lines up in the opposite color,
you gotta get her.
Boom.
She getting popped.
Yeah.
That's it's just and my high school boys, I try to instill, especially on my defense, I try to instill my mentality. Try to instill the mentality that I learned from the guys I was around. My mentality is still 1995, 94, 90. That's my mentality from McBride, Foreman, Winstrom, Peters. That's how I coach my boys.
Yeah, you got to be a dog, man. Like I said, Jay, you weren't on there earlier. We were talking about defense. Yeah. Just in the clip, and I was like, Kareem was like, Ken, I said something about defense. I never know you played defense. I said, bro, I got vain. That's why I started playing offense more as a senior. I said, my favorite player all time is Lawrence Taylor.
Lawrence the motherfucker.
I love offense. I like offense players. My favorite players are defense players. Ronnie Lott, Atwater, Jared Thomas, Cornelius Bennett. I was a hitter. I said, but till he started hurting from trying to blow people up.
Yeah.
I said, but I said I was the dude. Like, man, let me go in here and I'm trying to knock everybody out.
Yeah, always
you have to have that. And I would play safety, hybrid backer, corner. I was tackling. I love tackling, and like you guys say, it's just in you, man.
Right.
Let's stop playing around. These dudes got to run, hit, and tackle.
Yes.
Put it down. That's what I want to see.
You got to not be scared to put your face in there.
That's right.
Go in there. You might come out concussed, but it is what it is. It's you're giving up for your teammates.
Yeah. Yes.
Because they will do it for you.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing is I think I'm thinking back now is the biggest thing we did, is we gave our bodies up for each other. It was like we so that's a different type of mentality when you think about it, right? And,
Yeah.
and that's where, like, I think Georgia and Alabama and those,
Mm-hmm.
upper echelon teams are a little bit ahead of us, where you got guys that are buying into a mentality,
Yep.
which just boils over into the field, into how you practice. And it's like,
Yep.
you got to have that dog mentality, but you got to have like a wolf personality, right? And,
Yep.
and the reason why I say like a wolf, because wolves are like, they generally are in a pack, right? And they kind
Yep.
of, and they
Mhm.
pass along leadership from the older to the mid old, because it's kind of like captaincy, right?
Mhm.
But them wolves, I'm telling you, when they hunt, and if you watch wolves, and because I watch that, they are fierce. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They go for the jugular, and they are very smart and articulate. And when you have that type of mindset that you're going to protect each other and go out there and play together, then you feel like you can do anything. And then,
Yep.
I think the biggest thing for these guys is, I did a speech the other day, is that I just hope for them to have the one feeling one time of the drug of being in the locker room with all these dudes that you played, out,
Mm-hmm.
went through 2 days with, and you got that victory that maybe nobody thought you could do it, or it was a
Mm-hmm.
close game and you pulled it out. Being in that locker room, there ain't nothing
Right.
like it. Like, I can't. I mean, just to look. I mean, yeah, you might be, in our shirts and jock straps or whatever we was wearing. Like, that didn't matter, man. Like, we did it.
I'm getting
Like,
goosebumps right now. Like I'm
right,
getting goosebumps right now.
right. So that's what you like. That's a drug that you can never replicate. And once you get it one time,
Mm-hmm.
and then think about Kenny. Hey, Kenny, what I'm thinking about? Remember when we used to? Hey, we had this weight coach named Kevin Coleman. Hey, hey, man. So me and Kenny are freshmen, and they
Oh,
had this.
big
They
Kevin.
had this. They had this thing called the circuit. And Eric
Oh.
Nelson went in there and called Earl. He threw up. So me and
Oh,
Kenny was
God.
always, we was in Greek mythology together.
Yeah.
I know I was scared of that stuff because I ain't really lift weights or nothing. So then he comes see me and Kenny. He's like, "You gonna throw up like your boy?" Me and Kenny. I know I can't speak for Kenny. Man, I hated it. I hated Coach Coleman.
Yeah, he was on
And,
it.
right. But the thing is, because he was
Yep.
going to push us to the max and challenge us.
Yep.
But once we became accustomed and okay with it, we would be looking for him.
Yeah, we
You know
did
what
it.
I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
they
that,
forget.
right.
People don't
And
know that, man. You was doing that circuit together.
Yeah, we was in there together.
Yep. They be like, Kenny
pushing
and
each
Jay.
other.
We be like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
no.
Me, Kenny,
Oh,
and
man.
Ruck, we was getting it.
Yep, we
Man,
been there complaining.
I thought I knew what lifting weights was until the circuit. I thought I knew what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
man,
was
that
I was
shit
like,
was-
Jay, you letting them put all that weight on you? We're trying to bulk him up. I'm like, hell no, I ain't doing that.
Right.
All right, last gentleman we'll talk about, we brought him up a few times already, obviously, is Nick Henrich. They got him listed at 6'3", 235, so a little bit bigger than Luke, but still a little undersized, more so than Sherman. So he's fully healthy this year. He's ready to go. He's been plagued by injuries his entire career here. Came in with high expectations. Everything I've been hearing from him on I believe it's called the All In series on YouTube, which if you guys ain't watched it, you got to go watch it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But all his press conferences, everything, he sounds like he's ready to go. No restrictions whatsoever. The reins are finally going to be pulled off of him and let loose. With coming in with such high praise as he did, Jay, like you said, you followed Nick. You know quite a bit about the young man. To come back from the injuries he's had, it's tough. But do you expect him to just be an absolute? Yeah, I'm going to say it because you already have a fucking animal this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing about Nick, I respect him, man, a lot because of the way, how far he's come. And he had to get bigger and battle some kind of, like weird injuries early on, and then he really started to get confidence in himself. Then he had the big year, then he got hurt last year.
Mhm.
And when you see him now, he actually looks like a linebacker. He's got,
Okay.
he's got big shoulders,
Bigger.
and
Okay.
and I think that's where the confidence comes from.
Mhm.
And Nick's gonna do what he need to do. That's one thing. That dude gonna be there. He gonna be accountable. That's one thing about him. He ain't gonna back down, and he gonna come every single day. And so he's a dude that you can have in your program that you can hang your hat on. And I think I would say about Nick, I was like, look, man, they waiting for a leader. You just got to beat it. It's in you. You know what I'm saying? And once you realize it, He one of them dudes I call him E.F. Hutton. Remember that? Is it E.F. Hutton? When he talks, people listen. Remember that back in the day? Yeah, that's Nick, man. He don't say nothing, man. I say he like Billy the Gate. The time Billy the Gate lost his damn helmet, I thought that day we almost got the Unabomber up in our day.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Hey man, get this dude his helmet, man. He going crazy. But yeah, I think,
Wild Bill.
Oh my God, that's some bitch one shit.
Yeah, I think Nick will be fine. I think he just got to keep playing, and they know it. And then about 4th, 5th game, I think once he gets that confidence back, he gonna make plays. He gonna stick his face in there. He's gonna be good. I think getting bigger and legitimately, sometimes these kids coming out of high school, and this is just my opinion. Kareem, you probably know. Kenny, from being down in AZ. I think sometimes these kids are like a senior when they should be a junior, and their bodies haven't matured. And for me, I had to get bigger, but then also I had to understand my body was not ready to get bigger. And then once I did, I never had to worry about my weight again. You know what I'm saying? So and you can see it, like you look at Nick from last year and you look at him now, he looked like a linebacker. You know what I'm saying? So I'm assuming, with that, I know from experience, his confidence is going to be there. And, he just got to get his, bearings underneath himself and he'll be okay. I mean, and other guys got to play well around him. And that's part of being, on the defense.
And Kareem, I wanted to ask you about this too. You're a defensive coordinator, Enid. Say you come in first-year defensive coordinator and you meet a young man like Nick Henrich, whose the whole career has been plagued by injuries, but you see this young man's 100%, ready to go, hungry. What do you tell being a first year, meeting him basically for your first season? How do you keep this young man motivated? How do you create that bond?
Well, I think coming in I think he'll be a kid like him. He'll be motivated anyway. My thing is you don't want to come in and I see it a lot. When you come in, I think the guys who kind of been playing, you got to be able to coach those guys, and watch film on them from previous years. If I seen Nick, he'd be my guy. I mean, healthy, right? And healthy, smart.
Right.
My biggest fear would be with Nick is he, since he's been hurt so many times, is that going to make him in the back of his head just is that going to slow him down for the first couple weeks until he's like, okay, I can do this, and that would be my selling point to him. Like, hey, don't let those thoughts creep back in. Hey, you play this game for a reason. We need you going full speed at all times. And if you're thinking about getting hurt, that's only going to hurt you. So I think that would be my biggest fear coming in as a new coach, him having those thoughts in his head.
Yep. Kenny, you've seen Nick play, especially last year. We've seen him make great plays. We've seen what happens when he's out there playing hurt, not 100%, but still out there making plays. I mean, is this going to be a case where we're going to have 3 guys out there at this position that are all going to be vocal, general leaders out on that field for the defense? And if so, is that a bad thing?
No, I think it's a good thing. I hope so.
Leaders.
Most leadership on the defensive end of the football comes from the linebacking corps. It just they're the signal callers. They're the ones directing everyone from what they're calling relays to the secondary and what they're calling. So if they're all on the same page, I have no problem with it. So hopefully, I just want to see Nebraska backers and linemen get back to what we're all used to seeing. That's been since I've been here. I've said on podcast, Brian, I don't see the push and the aggressiveness that I'm used to seeing. Because I have an expectation, and I'm from the offensive side of the ball from Nebraska. But I know what I've seen. I've seen great players. I've seen dogs. I've seen dudes go get it. So that's what I want to see. So if they can get half of that, I'm good with it. But make the plays.
Everybody says defensive players are a different breed, and if you ask me, it's the linebackers that are by far the most different breed on the defensive side of the ball. They're the most psychotic. You've got to be a special person to want to play linebacker in any level of football.
Yeah, hey,
It's crazy.
it's something different.
Dude, I played outside linebacker in high school. So I mean, yeah, I wish I'd have played inside. That'd have been much more fun.
Hey, you gotta have some comedy to what you're doing. I'm gonna say this really quick. Jay had one of the funniest football moments I ever had in history when we were playing Texas in 1998.
Oh yeah, we ain't done today. So yeah, we're done talking about players. We could get right into stories now, Kenny. Go ahead, dude.
So this guy, we made a stop on 3rd or something. And some reason I was down there because I was talking to the defense player, like, let's go. Because I had just come back off my shoulder being injured from the separation. So Jay walks off the field. He's shaking his head. He pulls his helmet, snaps it. Hey, Cheetos. I said, what up? That's a grown-ass man out there, dog. And I must have fell out laughing because he tackled Ricky Williams. So
Oh, yeah.
We laughing on the sideline. He came out, he was shaking his head. He said, Cheetos. I said, what up, Jay? That's a grown-ass man out there. We're busting out laughing on the sideline. He's like, man. And I'm like, and I looked out there. I was like, yeah, that's a big dude out there.
Yeah, it
So,
was
that was hilarious.
Clash of the Titans. Hey, I tell you what though, I was trying to tear his ass up in the league though. In Miami, we're going head up. We're going like 2 Rams. I ain't going to goddamn place. I'll be in your ass. You know what messed up though? At the combine, you know, they rotate your roommates, right? So, one was Tony George, who played at Florida.
Yeah.
And then the other one was Ricky Williams.
Oh.
He was cool, but you never see it. You ain't roommates. You like they kind of like sweet mates or whatever. He was cool though.
Yeah. Cool. Good for him. Good for him. I was at that fucking game in Lincoln in '98. Damn it. Major Applewhite was the quarterback for Texas. Me and my dad sitting next to each other. My dad just goes, you know what? Screw that guy. That's Major Asswipe right there. I'm like, all right, Dad, that's all right.
Hey, that was a tough bitch, man. That was a tough
Me and Jay have some feelings about why that senior year went why it went. We talked about it before.
Yeah. It was a year in transition.
And some plays.
You know, yeah, it was definitely a different situation. I think you know, it was a little different, but you know, I had a chance to leave early, but I liked Frank, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, man, Frankie was cool.
We all did.
And I think that, like, you know, just the chain of, you know, look, man, Coach Osborne had been the figurehead for 20 some years. And so when Frank took over, I think there was a little jealousy there. But, you know, I just think, you know, it was just part of the deal. Major Applewhite was tough, though. I mean, I hit him hard one time, man. I tried to break his neck, man. You know, and he got up.
Man, I'm watching, and like that time he rolled out.
Yeah.
I think it might have been you and maybe Rock. He's rolling out, and like he's y'all smoking the dude. Like he's a mid, like slow that bitch. I was like, how the fuck?
Yeah, it was some lucky passes, man. And but you know what, he made plays. You know, and it is what it is, man. But
we got payback on him in '99.
Yeah,
he got his ass whooped in '99.
Yeah, didn't do nothing for us then, though, in '98, though.
No. Didn't help at all. Yeah. Matter of fact, I believe that was the first game we'd lost in Lincoln since '91 to Washington.
Yep.
I do remember that, man.
Yep. I couldn't believe it.
Me neither.
Man, I'd never been to a game my entire life that we had lost at home. So it was odd for me. Like, I had never in a million years at that age thought we could lose at home.
Right. Now you just want them motherfuckers to win at home.
Dude, right. Who's the podunk team we lost to at home last year too? Was it a Southern what?
Georgia Southern.
Georgia Southern. That should never happen.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hey man, but I look at it like, man, before I got up, there's nowhere to go but up. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that's the way to look at it. And you know, to be honest with you, granted, I never would trade my time at Nebraska, you know, winning 3 national championships, things I taught, friends I got for life or whatever. But like these young kids coming in, just imagine coming in and knowing defensively and Kenny knowing offensively that you're going to play the whole game. I mean, I'm looking at them records. I'm like, oh man, I might have 680 tackles in 4
Man.
years. You hear me? Because I know I'm playing the whole game. They might have a statue out there and talk about I'm the next Ray Lewis. I might be broke up by the time I hopefully got to the ring, but I can tell you what, I'm leaving this bad boy with some records.
Y'all know I get sick watching them play pitch and catch for the last 20 years. I'm like, oh my God. We didn't even have
a over time, man. I'll be like, I knew, like, man, especially when I moved to DN, I was like, man, I knew exactly what time I was getting in. Buckle, start to do some high knees. I mean, like, you know, like nowadays, man, like the dudes, you know, who were playing behind the studs are like, shit.
You gotta wait. You go from not playing to starting, and so that's just where we are as a program. And you know, but they got a lot of opportunity because the rewards they'll get based on the expectations. Like for us, you know, Kenny will tell you, like part of it when we sit in the dorms, we're like, hey man, when we get out there, we gotta be a part of winning national championship. That's why 97 was so important. You know what I'm saying? That's why 95 was so important to our class. Whereas like these guys, you know, and not taking anything away from them, it was for us, it was national championship or bust. That's it. Well, I didn't care about nothing else.
Amen.
But to these guys, you got to get to a bowl game, and if you can get to 8 wins, like that's a lot of progress for them. You know, this thing, like if they could win 8 games next year or this year, excuse me, then that's twice as many as they won the year before. Like we never had to worry about that. And so you know, they're in a good situation to, you know, if you really kind of take it upon it and really set your goals realistically, you can really accomplish some stuff and be a part of like hopefully the turnaround. And be like a foundation piece. So if you really change your mindset about how you view where you're at, you actually can come out of it and be a champion, you know, versus, you know, look, man, let's be honest. Georgia does it this year, then they obviously, you know, leapfrog us, but
they better not.
They're nobody's gonna ever do it or like we did. Nobody's ever gonna come through here and do it. Like just college football has changed. So that's over. But they can do some things around here that can be, you know, thought of in a high light, but they got to understand that you got to go out there and play, and it's going to be tough, man, because competition is tough. But if you really are a competitor, that's what you like. Like I liked it. You know, Kenny. I know that I can speak for now. I know I can speak for Kenny and Kareem on this. We liked it when it was down and dirty. That's what we did. That's what we did our best work.
That's football. That's football.
I want your best shot. You know, because I want you to be over there because I want to look over there knowing you could get me and I could get you because I know we're gonna get you more, and that's the way it was, and that's what I think helped us kind of, you know, go along the process. So
and we knew what we were playing for, and we knew what we were playing for. Like Jay said. The 95 and 97, while those were so important, hell, we should have won it in 96. I think 98 too. But I think going back to what Jay said, Jay, I wish somebody could find that tape. I don't know if you remember, you probably do, of us as freshmen in front of the hotel telling them reporters, if y'all think this is something, y'all ain't seen nothing, wait until next year. Because we got a whole bunch of dogs that's coming in, and we're coming in and have our business. We were talking so much, but we were serious. We were like, this ain't nothing. Y'all wait until next
selling
year.
Wolf tickets. Hey, we didn't know no better. You know what I mean? We just came in, hey, Kareem, we came in talking shit and swallowing spit. And that's all we did.
I tell you, man, when my trip, they was talking shit. I was like, this is where I gotta be at.
We didn't care, man. We didn't know any better. And that's the thing that
we told him in Miami. Man,
that was funny, man. We didn't,
y'all wait and see.
We didn't care about anything, and that's part of what you got to do. You just got to have a blind faith. And again, it came from the work, though. Like we felt like I just I ain't going against nobody better than what we played against. So really, anybody else that we play, then it's downhill a little bit. So. You know, we always kept our swords real sharp because we were definitely getting after each other and everything that we did.
Well, before we go today, then, gentlemen, I wanted to bring these things up for both you guys as guests. As far as what you guys personally got going on, Kareem, I know you're the defensive coordinator and D-line coach over at Eden High School, man. What has that been like to be able to coach some young men? And like you said, go on to Division I schools in college.
I mean, that's awesome, man. Like, like people always, I mean, like, certain schools, can focus on wins and losses. Like, I know where I'm at. I love my hometown. I came back here for a purpose. I've had chances to move on, but I still feel that I got a lot to accomplish here. And we're really big into developing kids. And and that's what we hang our hats on. I mean, and I love it. I love it. One of my DNs, I don't know, my 3 tech, he was an undersized kid. He ended up going to JUCO in Kansas. And he, kids Snapchat nowadays. So, he ended up snapping me, telling me that they took a D-line test the first day. And I was, and he was like, he got 100%. He was the only D lineman who got 100%. And he was like, Coach, I want to thank you for teaching me football. He was like, I want to, and then, and it meant a lot to me because, that's what I try to do, man. I try, my coaches were good back in the day, but now that I coach, I feel that, if I would have known a lot more football and, because I had the physical attributes. I mean, I had it. I was 6'3", 235 in high school. I was fast. And I didn't, I knew football, but I didn't know football. And so I try to give the kids the football IQ, the technique, everything I learned from the guys behind, like who I learned from in Nebraska. And that's what I try to do for kids. And, so far for me, it's paid off in the last probably like 13 years.
Nice, man. Yeah, I see the posts on Facebook, man. I see the pictures. Dude, you've been doing an amazing job with these young men, and it's just nothing short of just outstanding what you do with these guys. So, I mean, kudos to you, dude. It's a hard job. It's a thankless job. Yeah. And you do it without griping about a damn thing.
I mean, it's fun. I mean, like probably the hardest part of my job right now this year is coaching my son. Like I've never really he's in my position group, and like my oldest boy was a DB. He wasn't with me, but luckily this year I got an assistant, so I kind of get to do the coordinator part, and he does a little bit of coaching. So
nice.
It's good, but then it's bad. So like in games like that, how I play, so I didn't watch you. I'm watching everything else. I watch it on film, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
All right, and Jay, I mean, we could spend quite a bit of time talking about your NFL career, but basically, I just wanted to ask one thing. What was the biggest takeaway from the NFL?
Oh, man.
Not the money. The money's always good.
Yeah, I can't complain about that, but, I don't know. I mean, I was fortunate because my dad played, so I was kind of, around it. But I think the biggest thing was the difference in the locker room. I still have some best friends that I met there, but it's not like Kenny and Kareem. And I will tell you this, man, it was, in some ways, it was a letdown because of I don't think the coaching was as good. Now, I was blessed my first 7 out of the 9 years to have good coaching, but I was just looking at overall, right? I felt like it was a little bit of letdown. And then, the thing that probably not every team was trying to win. And that was a surprise. And I, like I said, I'm coming from Nebraska. That's all we know how to do. So that's and that's probably it. But that was about it. You know what I mean? It was a good experience, and it was it. But I mean, my fondest days are obviously with college. Just because we won a lot more, accomplished a lot more. But I had a good time in the league.
And one other thing I wanted to touch on is you've also got a radio / podcast show called Inside the Huddle, man. How did that happen?
On a humbug. So I do radio a few days a week, and then Inside the Huddle, just kind of doing what you guys are doing. Kenny and Kareem I have on. I got some new stuff coming up that's really going to be fun. And kind of just start, I'll take it to YouTube and stuff like that. So just, hey man, it kind of keeps you around the game, keeps your mind sane a little bit, and obviously with a new coach and stuff, there's a lot to talk about, and so or a lot to see, and it's refreshing because you can actually sit down and have a conversation with all of them. And I'll talk football as much as I can with anybody.
Oh, same here. Yeah, Kenny, you go on Inside the Huddle, man. You got to give us a shameless plug for the podcast, dude.
Oh, we will. You guys are gonna be plugged up. You guys are gonna be plugged up, man. Look, I love it. This, man. I'm not a person that only thinks about Jay Foreman. We all gonna eat. So we all here to do our thing, man. So Kenny, you guys hit me up. I was gonna be there. So that's.
Yeah, hey, Jay's hilarious, man. I laugh at him when I'm driving to work because of the time difference on the ticket. I'm like, this dude on there cutting up, man.
Man.
I'm like, they think it's a show. I'm like, that's him. I'm like, that's Jay.
Ain't nothing changed. Yeah, wait till I get you guys on the couch. We'll get you guys on the couch and I give you them interviews, boy. That YouTube hit me up there. Y'all gonna be exactly. Now I'm gonna be in control, answering all the asking all the questions. You know what I'm saying? Uncut.
I love it.
Yeah, man. But I got to roll though, man.
All right, Jay. We'll let you bow out. We'll finish off. Jay, thank you so much, man. You take care. We'll have you on again.
Hey, I'll hit you all up, man. Hey, man.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna tell y'all, man. Whoever started that group text, there's 15 of them.
Man,
who got the Android?
Me.
Right. There it is. I do. Hey, Kareem. That's why. Hey, Kareem. You know that's why I asked, right?
You're right.
I knew he had the Android. Because whenever I text him, it come back green. So I knew that's why there's a multiple text. That's why I asked right there. Hey, my man ain't changed since 1994. He won't do change. Cheetos is going to Cheetos, and it's all good. That's why I love him, man.
Yeah,
all right,
brother.
man. I'll holler at you guys, man. Love y'all, man.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, I'll see you.
All right, Jay. Love you, brother.
Man, so Jay Foreman, my God, that dude's funny as hell. My God. I think that's the first time I've gotten to talk to him, really.
Jay's hilarious, bro.
My God.
This dude was saying some stuff in pregame when he was a captain getting hyped. Oh, let's go. And you couldn't do nothing but laugh.
Right.
Because you're laughing at it because you're like, oh, yeah.
He's like, hey, you hype? You hype, Reem? You hype? You hype? But you try not to laugh.
You try not to laugh at him. Like, this dude is Jay's funny. You laughing the whole time. Everybody's bouncing around like, oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. We're going to break him off.
All right, well, since we're getting toward the end of it and talking about shameless plugs, I suppose, I've got to bring it up. I should have probably brought it up at the beginning of the episode, but it's too exciting to talk to Kareem and Jay. So, shout out to No Block, No Rock podcast, of course, and Nebraska Brewing Company, spearheading and putting on the first annual Nebraska Podcast Awards. Last weekend, it was an amazing time. Got to meet so many great podcasts that I had not met in person yet. Husker Cuzcast, more guys from Go Big Red Cast. Got to meet the guys from No Block, No Rock. It was just an amazing time. And lo and behold, first award of the night was for the X's and O's category, which I guess is for the podcast that explains more to the average fan about the X's and O's of the game. And would I like to just add that you are now watching an award-winning podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We did win the X's and O's category in the first annual Nebraska Podcast Awards. So thank you to everybody who voted, everybody who watches and listens. We love you guys. We could not thank you anymore because it was an absolute shock to win. Yeah, we've only been at this since last season. There's no way we thought we could get this. Maybe the Kool-Aid-aholics we thought we'd get. But, man, I knew Redcast Rob from Go Big Redcast was going to get that thing. I knew it. I can't get over the guys. For some reason, no matter how deep my blood runs with an N in it, I can't get it like his. I don't know what it is. There's some sort of ingredient he puts in his Kool-Aid that just makes it that much sweeter. I don't know. It's weird. So everybody, I thank you so much from myself, Kenny, Matt, all our guests that have joined. You guys have added so much to this show. Your insights, your expertise, the past stories. People love the past stories. So I can't wait for people to see this one. This is going to be fucking great. Holy shit. And so I guess this is where we'll go ahead and shut it down. Everybody, again, thank you so much for the award. We can't thank you enough. It's just now we've got to defend next year. We've got to make sure we come home with one next year. We got to keep the streak alive now. So it's really, the pressure's on now. If we hadn't won, there wouldn't have been so much pressure. Man, it sucks being an award-winning podcast, man. All right, so everybody, you know where to find us at this point. Twitter, Instagram, or X, whatever you want to call Twitter. It's still Twitter. At Husker Army Pod. You see it right there on my name. Kenny, obviously they can follow you, Husker Noop 1911. Mr. Kareem, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Facebook, Kareem Sears. You can find me on Twitter at Big Remus, Coach Big Remus. 15 Instagram. I think I'm Dark Remus 15. I got so many handles. But yeah, usually
what you
Facebook,
handles? What are you? And one or something? You got handles?
Well, I mean, like I'm the social media guy on the staff, So like, I got a lot of social medias. Find me on Trends, Kareem Sears. So Efferville, Enid, Oklahoma is what we're about here.
I love this, man. And Kareem, I never even would have met you if it hadn't been just me reaching out by some odd chance on Facebook, having you join an old show I did a few years back.
Yeah.
And here we are.
I want to thank you for that, because like I said, I'm not saying I had the best story, but my story, it was good to tell it. It's good to get some stuff out. And I've been on a few podcasts since then. Kind of think it's starting my own. I don't know if I'm having enough time, but it's I love it. I love coming on. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I thank you for deciding to join and tell your story, because it is unique. It was unlike a lot of the college athlete stories you hear. So I mean, anybody, if y'all ain't watched it yet, look, it's called The Spinoff. And it was a early video with Kareem. I think we did, almost 2 hours in that thing. It was crazy. And it might be, if I'm not mistaken, it might be the most viewed one on The Spinoff.
Which I thought was crazy, because like you've had a lot of good dudes, like a lot of my buddies, who were dogs out there, and
it blew up.
Those guys, all those guys you have on, Kenny, Jay, man, like I love it. Like, there's times like, I tell some of my boys the best time of my life was college.
Man.
Yeah, because we kicked it.
Yeah.
We like I think people
love each other.
They hear me say it, but they don't understand that we really, 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 really were together 24/7. On and off the field.
Like we were everywhere together. Like if we went to a party, we would meet at somebody's house,
and it was all of us.
And we would all go to the party. Like it would we didn't that's how that's how we rolled. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yep. And that's how it should be.
Yep. They don't they don't hear the stories. I think they're starting to hear it now, that we really rock with one another. Period.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys haven't bullshitted about a single story that's ever been told. You guys have corroborated everything in between each other. So yeah, I see no lies. No lies. I love this. This is why I love doing this shit. Damn.
Classic phone calls. What y'all doing over there? Playing the game. Playing the game. We'll be over there in a minute. That's it.
All right, guys. You know where to find the show as well. YouTube, Husker Army Podcast. Very easy to find. Google it, pops right up. Of course, anywhere you find your audio-only podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, any of them, we're there. At least I'm pretty sure we are. So, guys, we'll shut it down here. Awesome episode today. I would love to thank our guest, Jay Foreman, who unfortunately had to take off already, but that's all right, and Mr. Kareem Sears for joining the Husker Army today. So, For myself, Brian Knutson, for AKA KC, Husker Noop 1911. Go check him out. Husker Nation, at ease, and you are all dismissed. Yeah.